Especially,
did you go to college?
I did go to college. And when I went to study dance, it was more in the classical sense, but what happened was I took a workshop in belly dance. So it's a world dance, which is completely different from my world. So I took that one class and I was totally hooked by it. So I started to train and study belly dance, and I traveled all over the world working with different masters, kind of going under their tutelage. And then I became very intrigued by world dances, which would include things like the Brazilian samba. I studied in Brazil with masters, samba teachers, to learn the dance, because that was the way I needed to do it. You know, I needed to take the journey, and I believe that because of that, that made me much more interested in dance as a cultural experience and not just to learn the technique, which led me into yoga. That's another training discipline. I am a yoga teacher as well. So I believe that at this point, because I've experienced so many different styles of movement, it's just more about movement, and I can embrace the beauty in all of them individually. So I don't even know at this point that I can pick one out and say that I like this one the best. It's all about how it makes other people feel.
And how often do you dance yourself?
Pretty much every day, yeah. I'm either, if I'm not doing a performance or doing a workshop or class, then I actually try to sit still and go, really kind of comatose. But I work a lot, so I'm constantly moving. Relaxing to me is teaching a yoga class. That's relaxing.
So when you're teaching a dance class, do like the students mirror your movements? Or?
Yes, that's one technique that we do. We will break up into groups. We will do one-on-one coaching. I'll have them stand in the mirror and just get more comfortable with their bodies, and especially with women. And I think that women would feel comfortable with me saying this is not the biggest secret that women have. Some dynamics when it comes to their body. You know, they look in the mirror and they see one thing, but the world sees something so much more beautiful. So that is part of the dance as well. That's part of the training. That's where you start working with that, integrating the divine feminine into that movement, so that when women take my class, they're going to get so much more than just learning a dance technique.
Well, what else are they going to get besides the dance technique?
They're going to get my full heart. And they're going to get a space of community, of other women who are like-minded. They're going to see that they're not the only one that may feel inadequate, in their bodies and the way they move. So many times I've heard people say, I don't know how to dance. I could never dance. I could never do that. That's the challenge to me. The challenge is not going onto a big stage on a big venue. I've done that. The challenge is having someone walk in who is so petrified of actually taking that step and getting them to trust and feel grounded, and then they have breakthroughs. And when they have their breakthroughs, that's when I know that I actually have made a difference.
Have you ever worked with people with disabilities?
I have. I've worked with a lot of different kinds of disabilities as well, and what that's taught me is that we are all the same. We use different senses. If I was blind and I couldn't use my eyes, I would have to use my other senses to feel. You can totally immerse yourself in one particular sense if you so choose. We're so diverse as human beings that sometimes we take our 5 or 6 sense, like intuition, we take it for granted sometimes, and that relates to the work of Fenel Feliz. It really is a full sensory engagement with the visuals, with the photography. There's celebrated artists, international and local, who've contributed to this vision by allowing me to include their work.
So the photography was not done by you, but other
noted... A few pictures are done by me, but I wouldn't consider myself a photographer. They're great people who take tremendous art and effort and patience and time and study in what they do. I'm not a photographer. I'm a lover of art, and I have an excellent eye for quality. So I was able to get some very great contributions.
Well, I also going to hold up this your book is also in audio form, and how do you convey the images in the CD?
Well, the whole idea was to have a sensory immersion experience. So I thought, okay, we have the visuals, we have the words, let's include the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where that idea comes from. So I'm doing recitations from the book on the audio. My original idea was to actually have multiple voices, and I hope that that could come to be someday.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first went into the studio, after the production team looked at the material, because there's some pretty potent things in there, they really felt that the first edition would be much more impactful if I read it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I've paved the way in that audio sound, then that would lend itself to having other people read it.
Okay.
I was petrified. I didn't want to do it. I thought that I was going to walk in, do the beginning portion, maybe the intro, and have everybody else read the segments. So I got scared of my own work.
Uh-huh. And did you dance your way through that?
I did.
And you know, if a member of our viewing audience had problems with, say, anxiety or worry or fear,
Yes.
any suggestions how they could dance through something like that?
First, I think they really need to get in contact with their breath, whatever that means to them. If that means you need to find some form of meditation, there's so many different ways to get grounded, but a lot of times what we need to do is just stop and shut out the noise and just focus on the breathing. Even if you feel like you're completely stiff and you know, and motionless, if you can get in tune with your breathing and then connect that breath to your heart and start a cycle going, then maybe your eyes will become more present and you can start seeing.
And